The flight of the Nez Perce, a legacy of honor and betrayal. The people of the Perce knows. Long before the arrival of European settlers, the Nez Perce inhabited the lush plateaus and valleys of Idaho, Washington, and Oregon. Their name, meaning pierced nose, was given to them by French-Canadian fur trappers who observed their shell ornaments. The Nez Perce were a people of profound hospitality. In the early 1800s, they famously saved the Lewis and Clark expedition from starvation, providing food and guidance through the rugged terrain. Acting on President Jefferson's orders, the expedition survived only because of the kindness of these indigenous people, a benevolence that would later be met with a devastating betrayal. Their original territory was vast, spanning approximately 70,000 square kilometers. They lived in over 100 villages, typically situated near rivers abundant with fish. In the 18th century, the introduction of horses transformed their culture, allowing them to hunt bison on the eastern plains. However, the peace of their ancestral domain was soon shattered by a discovery that had doomed so many other tribes before them: gold. The curse of gold and the broken treaty. Around 1860, the discovery of gold in Nez Perce territory brought an influx of white prospectors and rising tensions. Although an 1855 treaty had guaranteed them 30,000 square kilometers of land, the U.S. government sought to seize more for white settlers in 1863. This new thief treaty proposed to reduce the reservation to just 1/10 of its original size. While some bands agreed, others, led by Chief Joseph's father, steadfastly refused. Chief Joseph, who had once converted to Christianity in hopes of peaceful coexistence, famously tore up his Bible in response to this deception. He returned to his traditional tribal faith, honoring his father's dying wish, never to sell the bones of their ancestors. The start of the flight. By 1877, the pressure to relocate became an ultimatum. General Oliver Otis Howard, despite his previous sympathy for Native leaders, ordered the non-treaty bands to move to a small reservation in Idaho within 30 days. Realizing they could not win a direct war, the Nez Perce prepared to comply. However, a group of young warriors, seeking to avenge the murders of their family members, killed 4 white settlers. This act ended the tribe's long history of never killing a white person and sparked the fear of immediate military retaliation. To escape punishment and protect their families, the Nez Perce decided to flee across the Rocky Mountains, hoping to find refuge with the Crow tribe. Thus began a grueling 100-day, 1,900-kilometer odyssey. Pursued by a force of 2,000 U.S. soldiers, including the reorganized 7th Cavalry, roughly 250 Nez Perce warriors managed to defend nearly 800 people through 18 skirmishes and 4 major battles. They even cut through the newly established Yellowstone National Park in a desperate bid for freedom, turning north toward the Canadian border. The final stand at Bear's Paw. By late September, the Nez Perce believed they had finally outpaced their pursuers. They were unaware, however, that Colonel Nelson A. Miles had been dispatched to intercept them. On September 30th, just 60 kilometers from the safety of Canada, Miles's troops launched a sudden assault at the Bear's Paw Mountains. After a brutal 5-day siege in the freezing cold, Chief Joseph looked upon the suffering of his people. Many of the primary war chiefs had fallen, and his people were starving and freezing. Realizing that further resistance meant the total annihilation of the women, children, and elderly, Chief Joseph finally surrendered on October 5, 1877. His words became some of the most famous in history, marking the end of a long journey of blood and tears. The Red Napoleon and the Broken Heart. Chief Joseph and his people earned the respect of their enemies for their conduct during the war. They refrained from atrocities and treated civilian captives with mercy. The press labeled Joseph the Red Napoleon for his perceived tactical brilliance, though military decisions were actually made collectively by a council of chiefs. Despite a promise from Colonel Miles that they would return to Idaho, General Sherman overruled the agreement. The Nez Perce were exiled to Kansas and later Oklahoma. The swampy, disease-ridden conditions of the lowlands were a death sentence for the plateau-dwelling people. Many perished from malaria and heartbreak. It was not until 1885 that the survivors were allowed to return to the Pacific Northwest, but Chief Joseph and many others were barred from their ancestral lands in Idaho. They were forced to live on the Colville Reservation in Washington. When Chief Joseph passed away in 1904, the official cause of death was listed by his physician as a broken heart. He died in exile from the valley he loved, leaving behind a legacy of immense dignity in the face of absolute betrayal.